Today we're talking about something that most people already missed, and that's exactly why it matters. You see the text on the thumbnail, the unannounced CBDC. What happened wasn't loud or dramatic. It didn't need to be. It was structural. The United States achieved most of the practical effects of a central bank digital currency without issuing one directly by allowing a federally regulated stablecoin to take that role. That stablecoin is USAT. This isn't about speculation or theory. It's about incentives, responsibility, and how financial power is actually implemented. And make no mistake, by the end of this video, you'll understand why USAT is the real US CBDC. USAT is a dollar-backed stablecoin built entirely inside the US regulatory perimeter. It's issued through regulated banking infrastructure and aligned with federal oversight from the start. It doesn't sit on the edge of the system, it sits inside it. And that's what makes it important. This is less a crypto story and more a story about financial architecture. If the US had issued a retail digital dollar directly through the central bank, the consequences would have been immediate. Commercial banks would lose deposits as people would interact directly with the Federal Reserve, eliminating the need for commercial banks altogether. Since deposits are the foundation of lending, credit creation, and economic activity, direct issuance becomes impractical. Beyond that, central banks are not designed to manage millions of users. They are not built for customer service, fraud disputes, operational errors, hacks, or outages. More importantly, they are not built to absorb direct public blame when something goes wrong. The current system always provides distance. A bank fails, a company mismanages risk, an institution makes a mistake. Keeping the Federal Reserve in the background means it isn't blamed for every failure, which helps preserve trust and avoid systemic panic. Direct issuance removes that distance, so control is exercised indirectly. Regulated entities issue the digital tokens, they operate the infrastructure, they handle compliance, custody, reporting, and transaction monitoring. The central bank remains above the system, setting the rules, backstopping liquidity, guiding outcomes, without becoming the frontline operator. This structure delivers visibility, enforcement, and financial data, while keeping responsibility one layer removed. That's why regulated stablecoins are such an effective vehicle. A stablecoin operating inside the regulatory framework can be monitored, permissioned, restricted, frozen, and integrated into payment and settlement systems. All the functional advantages governments typically seek from a CBDC exist without the central bank issuing the asset itself. And when issues arise, technical failures, political backlash, operational mistakes, responsibility falls on issuers, custodians, banks, or service providers. The benefits stay centralized, the liability stays distributed. This outcome is intentional. USAT represents the point where this approach becomes explicit. It is a regulated American digital dollar designed to function entirely within US law and policy. More importantly, it establishes a new baseline. Digital dollars are supervised, digital dollars are permissioned, digital dollars are policy aligned. This happens through regulation rather than code. When government rules define behavior, policy itself becomes the program. At that stage, the label no longer matters. Transaction visibility, flow control, and financial enforcement no longer require a central bank-issued token. Those properties already exist within the institutions issuing and moving the money. The effect is the same, the responsibility is not. And that distinction explains everything. And once you see that distinction, the conclusion becomes unavoidable. The US effectively integrated a CBDC into the system, framing it as good news and convincing those who still trust the traditional system that they're getting the best of both worlds. The most significant impact of USAT is psychological. It conditions people to accept stablecoins as the new normal, that they are monitored, that privacy is conditional, that permission is standard, and that financial infrastructure follows policy rather than neutrality, bringing us back to familiar forms of centralized control. Once that becomes familiar, the debate changes. The question stops being whether a CBDC should exist. The question becomes why one would ever be necessary. So when you see the unannounced CBDC, it refers to a system where a US centralized digital currency exists, control exists, surveillance exists, enforcement exists, while the central bank remains in the background, benefiting from the structure without holding direct responsibility. That is not a failure to launch a CBDC, it is a more refined way of achieving the same outcome. And understanding that means understanding where digital money is actually going. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay curious and stay hodling.